You are in a job interview, and your interviewer decides to make you this type of question that everybody hates because nobody knows how to reply properly. Yes, I'm talking about the "what are your weaknesses" question. And let's be honest, this open question can become your worst enemy if they aren't replied to properly, so it's important to at least have some strategies to avoid a bad image and get a few points to make your next job interview a success. Hi, this is Michael from Fresher Interview, and on this video, I'm going to show you a few strategies to reply in the best way possible to the always dangerous question, what are your weaknesses? Cite a weakness that, under the right circumstances, can prove to be an asset. The strength as weakness strategy works well if you show the value of using the particular trait in a given context. Demonstrate that you know how and when to use it most effectively, and explain how you might be able to use it to help your future employer. Saying, for instance, that you're a perfectionist would work if you can cite times when this trait is a strength instead of a weakness. An example might be when proofreading or editing, since perfectionism can guarantee error-proof copy. On the other hand, a perfectionist chief executive officer might micromanage his top managers and paralyze the organization. Knowing the requirements of the job and the organizational culture can help you decide whether a potential employer will view your perceived weakness as a potential strength. Cite a corrected weakness. Another strategy is to cite a weakness that you're working to correct. Always provide concrete examples of what you're doing to fix the problem, the progress that you've made, and how these improvements will help an employer. An international executive felt his career had suffered because he wasn't fluent in Spanish. After losing a job during a corporate reorganization, he decided to combine work with pleasure by signing up for a language immersion program in Chile. 6 weeks later, he felt he had learned enough Spanish to be more effective in his next job. During one interview, he asked the interviewer if she would like to conduct the interview in Spanish so he could demonstrate his proficiency directly. In another scenario, a marketing executive who had lacked expertise in customer relationship management related how she had used her unemployment to take seminars and courses in the field and was eager to apply her new knowledge in her next job. Cite a lesson learned. Similar to the corrected weakness strategy, the lesson learned approach acknowledges real missteps and mistakes within the context of a lesson learned. If you can demonstrate what you learned from your mistake, potential employers will be reassured of two things. First, that you can learn from your mistakes, and two, that you won't make this kind of mistake again. It's also smart to link how this newfound understanding will benefit a new employer. An assistant manager who was having a personality conflict with her boss complained to her boss's boss about her manager. After that, she was demoted to a sales clerk position. Reflecting on the experience, she could talk about the importance of managing upward and, with 20/20 hindsight, how she would handle the same problem now. Cite a learning objective. After reviewing the job description, you may discover that part of the job requires more skill and experience than you now have. Rather than assuming the potential employer won't notice this weakness, develop a strategy to compensate for it. For example, a candidate for an employee benefits specialist position knew that she had experience in 5 of the 6 technical areas that the employer required. Before she interviewed, she researched certification programs that were available through professional groups. Her goal was to learn the language and expertise the skill required, and also how long it would take her to get up to speed in that area. When she cited this weakness, she could then address what she needed to do to learn it and in what time frame. Cite an unrelated skill deficit. You may know of professional weaknesses or deficits that, while troubling, don't interfere with your ability to perform well in a specific job. The fact that you aren't a great public speaker won't hurt you much in an administrative role. Your less than perfect writing skills may not be a deal killer if the job requires mostly telephone communication. Obviously, the key is knowing the job description and career path well enough to understand what's necessary to be successful. Clearly, you don't want to identify a weakness that would genuinely affect your ability to do the work. Deflect. If you don't feel comfortable answering the question, you can try to deflect it by saying that, while you obviously have weaknesses, you aren't aware of anything that would interfere with your ability to do the job. If the interviewer persists, you can turn this into an opportunity to discuss what's important to you. You might say, for example, that you work best with managers who trust and give you a lot of feedback. Or you might say that you tend to perform best in a fast-paced environment with clear deadlines. Although you aren't specifically citing a weakness, you are implying that you work better under certain conditions. You also can use humor to deflect the question, as demonstrated by one general manager. When asked about his weakness, he liked to reply, "Ask my parole officer." Of course, this joke works only if you don't have any felony convictions. Address the unspoken question. Interviewers who ask the weakness question may be more interested in how you approach the question than in the specific weakness you cite. If you want to have a more honest and direct conversation, you can begin by acknowledging the concern and asking if the interviewer is wondering if you're hiding a fatal flaw that should be uncovered. You also can review your qualifications and ask if there's a specific concern that you could address in greater depth. This allows you to tailor your responses to any potential reservations or resistance. It also levels the playing field by changing the dynamics of the interview. Before using this strategy, assess whether you think the interviewer will respond well to your directness. While some might find it refreshing, being this direct may be intimidating to someone who prefers to hide behind an interviewing script. Although there's a performance element to interviewing, you aren't an actor who needs to perform for an audience. You're engaged in a conversation designed to determine whether you can work together effectively. Towards that end, you can do your part to make the interviewer more of an active participant than a passive observer and critic of your performance. In the end, it isn't your mistakes and weaknesses that matter most, it's whether you're aware of your weakness, understand its potential impact on others, and are willing to work to improve yourself. Your ability to handle this question confidently and effectively can send a powerful message to potential employers about your real strengths. Hope you enjoyed this video, and remember, give it a like if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel. If you want to know more about how to be the best at job interviews and know all the secrets to get any job you want, check out the link in the description. I'll see you in the next video. This is Michael from Fresher Interview.